A man has died. Inside a 19th-century Russian courthouse, several magistrates are reading the morning paper when they see the obituary of their colleague, Ivan Ilyich. Their very first reaction isn't grief, it's calculation. They immediately begin plotting out the transfers and bureaucratic promotions this empty seat will bring them. The atmosphere at the wake is no better. Mourners express superficial sympathy while impatiently waiting to leave for their evening card games. Ivan's widow, Praskovia, puts on a theatrical display of grief, but pulls one of the magistrates aside with a highly specific question. She wants to know exactly how to maximize her dead husband's government pension. There is only one person in the house displaying genuine human emotion. Gerasim, a young peasant servant, quietly goes about his duties. Unbothered and grounded, he accepts death as a natural, unavoidable fact of life, contrasting sharply with the hypocrisy of the bourgeois elite surrounding him. Leo Tolstoy introduces us to this man with a single, devastating sentence. Ivan Ilyyich's life had been most simple and most ordinary, and therefore most terrible. How does a perfectly respectable, socially approved life result in such a lonely and pathetic end? To understand the tragedy, we must perform a forensic autopsy on the history he left behind. We jump back 30 years earlier. Ivan is the middle child of his family, the happy mean between a cold older brother and a reckless younger one. His primary drive in life is simply to blend in with the Russian elite. He attends the School of Jurisprudence, where he learns to absorb the values of high society as absolute law. He graduates, climbs the bureaucratic ladder, and secures a comfortable position as a magistrate. His approach to marriage follows the exact same formula. He marries Praskovia not out of overwhelming passion, but because she comes from a good family. It is the proper thing to do, an obligation fulfilled to satisfy the expectations of his peers. When Praskovia becomes pregnant and his home life turns messy and demanding, Ivan retreats. He escapes into evening card games and his courtroom duties. At work, he learns to strip away all emotion, treating human beings as sterile, mechanical case files to be processed and swiftly discarded. Ivan is not a malicious man. His defining flaw is a cowardly surrender to superficial expectations. He did everything society asked of him, and in the process slowly suffocated his own soul long before his physical body began to fail. Ivan's physical collapse begins with a moment of mundane vanity, specifically climbing a stepladder to show a worker how to hang the drapes. He slips and bangs his side against the window frame. It's just a bruised flank, but over the coming months, the minor injury evolves into a strange taste, a persistent gnawing ache, and eventually a debilitating terminal illness. Ivan frantically visits doctors looking for a cure. He quickly notices a grim irony. The physicians treat him with the exact same cold, mechanical detachment he used on defendants in his own courtroom. The doctors engage in sterile debates, arguing over whether he has a floating kidney or an inflamed appendix. They completely ignore his psychological state and his growing terror of dying. By building a personal and professional world entirely devoid of empathy, Ivan has condemned himself to suffer his final days in an empathy-free environment. At home, his family refuses to acknowledge reality. His wife and daughter gaslight him, pretending he is merely sick rather than dying. This allows them to avoid the truth, leaving him alone as they go to the theater. Ivan recalls an old philosophical syllogism. Caius is a man. Men are mortal. Therefore, Caius is mortal. He tries to lean on this logic, but it collapses against his deeply personal reality. He isn't a theoretical Caius. He is Ivan, and he is dying. Tolstoy illustrates this terror through the metaphor of a black sack. In Ivan's dreams, an invisible, invincible force is violently pushing him into a deep, dark void, while he thrashes and struggles against it. He cannot fall through the sack to find peace for one specific reason. He stubbornly clings to the illusion that his superficial, status-obsessed life was actually correct and justified. His greatest agony is no longer physical pain. It is the creeping, moral torment of realizing that his conscious existence might have been a lie. This psychological friction builds to a climax of pure agony. For 3 relentless days, Ivan screams as he thrashes near the bottom of the black sack, utterly isolated in his pain. As Ivan thrashes, his young son Vasya approaches the bed. The boy kisses his father's flailing hand and cries in genuine grief. That touch pierces the layers of artificiality Ivan spent decades constructing. It forces him to see his life not through the lens of social success, but through the raw reality of the pain he has caused those who actually loved him. Looking at his family, Ivan finally feels genuine pity and compassion for them. He recognizes his own past selfishness and actually wants his death to arrive, simply to end their suffering. By letting go of his ego and the desperate need to justify his empty history, the struggle ends. He stops resisting the black sack. His fear of death vanishes, replaced by a profound, clarifying light. We are all mortal, but if we chase social status, avoiding authentic human connection, we are already dead. Only by accepting our mortality can we wake up to the true purpose of living.